Yo, what up guys? The Crypto Homie back at you with another video. Today we're going to talk about the flaws in the current financial system and briefly go over what is Bitcoin. So let's start off with the current financial system. In the third world countries such as Venezuela, they have entered this thing called hyperinflation, which ruins lives. So I just want to read a quote from Google real quick. So in 2016, Venezuela entered hyperinflation. The inflation rate reached 274% in 2016, 863% in 2017, 130,000% in 2018, and just under 10,000% in 2019. So since the 2016, the overall inflation rate has increased to nearly 54 million%, ending the quote from Google. So in order to get the big picture perspective, the local currency in some of these countries inflates day to day. One day the local currency is enough to supply you and your family with food for the week. But the next day, the same amount of money is a day's worth of food for you and your family. The devalue in the local currency devastates lives. This is something that as an American is truly hard to understand since our dollar, the US dollar, is for the most part stable. If you live in America, the US dollar is fine. There are no worries about hyperinflation at this time. You're only losing about an average of 3% a year from inflation, and when compared to other countries, it's 3% a day. Hyperinflation could come to America, especially with the amount of money being printed in 2020. There's this thing called quantitative easing, QE. I want to read a quote from Investopedia. So, understanding quantitative easing. To execute quantitative easing, central banks increase the supply of money by buying government bonds and other securities. Increasing the supply of money lowers the cost of money, the same effect as increasing the supply of any other asset in the market. A lower cost of money leads to lower interest rates. When interest rates are lower, banks can lend with easier terms. Quantitative easing is typically implemented when interest rates are approaching zero, because at this point, the central banks have fewer tools to influence economic growth. So when you hear the words government bonds and other securities, we can just throw them out the window because that just makes it complicated. Simply understanding is that they're just trying to stimulate the economy by printing more money. So now moving on to what gives the US dollar value. So what gives the US dollar value? I want to first start off by defining what a fiat currency is. With a quick Google search, there's this nice quote by Investopedia. Fiat money is a government-issued currency that isn't backed by a commodity, such as gold. Fiat money gives central banks greater control over the economy because they can control how much money is printed. Most modern paper currencies, such as the US dollar, are fiat currencies. All right, so now that we defined what a fiat currency is and we understand that the US dollar is a fiat currency, the dollar is not backed by anything other than you'll say you'll take a dollar, I'll say I'll take a dollar, they say they'll take a dollar. The government says the dollar is worth $1, so people believe the dollar is worth something. The key word is belief. A successful currency is a belief system. The dollar is not backed by anything other than a belief system. So with the US dollar is actually the world reserve currency. You may not have known that. I'm going to read a quote from Investopedia once again. As a result of the Bretton Woods Agreement, which was in 1944, the US dollar was officially crowned the world's reserve currency, backed by the world's largest gold reserves. Instead of gold reserves, other countries accumulated reserves of US dollars. Needing a place to store their dollars, countries began buying US Treasury securities, which they considered to be a safe store of money. Ending the quote there. Essentially, they considered the US Treasury securities as a safe store of value, because that's all money really is. And as I mentioned, Bretton Woods Agreement happened in 1944, which was during the World War II. And made the US dollar the world reserve currency. This is a big deal. So the countries that used to hold gold as a reserve currency, now they hold the US dollar, which, as we know, has no intrinsic value other than that we believe in it. So now moving on to 1971 and the change in the dollar. Did you know the dollar changed in 1971? The US dollar was taken off the gold standard in 1971. Having the dollar backed by gold gave the dollar value, since gold is scarce. Today, the dollar is not scarce. It is not backed by anything valuable, besides the belief system. The belief system could easily disappear. This is where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin has a set financial policy. Unlike the current financial policy we have in America, there are a group of elected officials that, behind closed doors, make our financial policies. They decide to raise or lower interest rates. The financial policy can change for the better or the worse. With Bitcoin, you know the financial policy. You know there are only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin created. You know the inflation of Bitcoin will be reduced by 50% about every 4 years. There are no surprises with Bitcoin. You can read the white paper and everything is explained in great detail. All right, guys, this is enough for today. I hope this wasn't overwhelming. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments down below. And as always, homies, this is not financial advice. This is pure entertainment. Invest at your own risk. But what do you think will happen to the US dollar? Do you think we could enter a hyperinflation? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you guys for watching the videos. Smash the like button if you liked it, and subscribe for more content. The Crypto Homie is signing out.